Okay, I know what you're gonna say. We just did The Last of Us like 4 weeks ago. But the difference is, this is a commission. I was approached for my very first commissioned art piece a few weeks ago, and I just couldn't say no. She is one of my coworkers. She asked if I could do a Pedro Pascal bust from The Last of Us for her daughter's birthday. And I couldn't turn down the opportunity. And I love The Last of Us. And this was a really, really cool chance to show off, you know, some of the things I'm capable of and show off some of my art and have somebody else, you know, own a piece of my own work, which, you know, like, who wouldn't say yes to that? So I did it, and it's taken like 3 whole weeks to finish, and I redid the head like 4 different times. I even had to buy paint stripper so that I could strip all the paint off the head and redo it like 2 times doing that alone. So yeah, this was a crazy, wild ride, but it was totally worth it, and I'm so excited, and I'm so proud of the way it turned out. And you know, the best part is my friend, she likes it a lot. She's very happy with it, and it's gonna be in somebody else's house. Like, how freaking cool is that? But, you know, let's see how this all turned out. Let's get started on Pedro Pascal's Joel Miller from The Last of Us. We just started by gluing the body to the base and filling in a couple of the little irregularities in the print, and then sanding off where the supports were on the rest of the print. I took an X-Acto knife and I cut off the rest of the supports that were in the hair, and then used this foam texturizer and sealer from AK to kind of give the base a bit of a textured feel that went with The Last of Us. I used this skeleton bone primer from the Army Painter to paint the whole thing, to prime the entire model. And then we started in with Cantor Blue for the shirt color, because he wears a really pretty blue shirt. And I just felt like this was a really good starting point for it. And now I'm gonna take Vallejo's Iraqi Sand, which is a really great khaki color for the base coat on the jacket. And now I'm gonna go in with Citadel Colors Thunderhawk Blue as a dry brush highlight for the shirt that he's wearing. I chose it because it's a couple shades brighter than the original color, and we go over it a couple of times just to blend it in well and to give it that really nice, pretty highlight. And then I really did go in with Iraqi Sand over the Steel Legion Drab. It gives it that really good highlight, but also it makes the jacket look like it's been weathered, like it's seen a lot of wind and rain and sunshine and gotten a little bit of that sun-bleached look. And here we are with Vallejo's Leather Brown. I went in on the gun strap and on the backpack straps with this color because it's a really good base color to start with. A lot of your backpack straps and gun straps are going to be these darker, kind of more earthy colors, so that's why I chose this color. I also used it to go on all the flat parts of the model, the sides of the model and the back, just to bring the whole thing together and give it some uniformity. And then I just went in with some olive drab to go on the smaller parts of the backpack, just to kind of break up the monotony a little bit and add a little bit more depth to the backpack colors. I went in with a really tiny brush after this to get all of the edges without overlapping the previous colors and messing up the previous paint jobs. And here I chose Iraqi sand, wraithbone, and uniform gray for all of the little bits and bobs on the strap, on the gun strap. I used the uniform gray so that I had a good base for a silver metallic so that it looks like it was put back together with duct tape pieces. And then the other colors I used to kind of simulate torn pieces of fabric and clothing that he would wrap around that strap to try to put it back together. And now I'm going to use cobalt metal. It's a really pretty metallic blue for the buttons, and I felt like it went really well with this kind of denim-y vibe I got going on with the shirt. And then just some Agrax Earthshade all over the whole thing. I wanted to make it look dirty, make it look like it's part of the apocalypse. Like, you know, they don't have access to machine washers and they kind of just wash everything in the river and stuff like that. So we just dirtied up everything really well. And here we're just going to go in with some more Iraqi sand just to lighten it up a little bit because it went a little darker than I had expected, but also because it's just going to bring in those highlights and that kind of roughness to the jacket that I'm looking for. I'm also going to hit the shirt with a little bit more of the Thunderhawk blue just to add some more of the highlights back into it as well and give it a little bit more depth of color and give it that real good denim vibe. And here I just used some of my other regular acrylics to make a really good dark blackish brown color for the base of his hair. He has really dark hair to begin with, but when it gets into the light, you can see a lot of red tinges and highlights in it. So I figured starting with this nice dark base would be a good place to begin. You might be thinking to yourself, something looks a little different here, and that would be because the skin is white. Because by this point, I am on like try 3 or 4 of trying to get the skin tone right, and a lot of this was done off camera because I just got so pissed off that I turned off the camera and tried to do it without being watched because I just couldn't get it right no matter what I did. So a lot of this, I really don't remember how I did. Honestly, I just kind of winged it, really. I started with a darker shade and then worked up into lighter skin tone shades for the highlights on his skin. And then eventually I went in and did a little bit of a really light glaze in a pinkish red color to try to bring some color to his cheeks. And then I did all of the dry brushing on the hair so that we could go into some highlights. And I used this ruddy reddish brown to bring some of that red to his hair. But it turned out to be a little bit too light and a little bit more red than I had anticipated it being. So I went in with a really dark brownish black wash to try to lighten that up a little bit and fix that problem with the overcorrection on the red. And now I'm gonna go with matte white and clean up the eyes a little bit. We were a little bit messy with some of the skin tones, so I'm just gonna clean it up and brighten up the whites of the eyes. And then we're gonna go in with a really pretty light brownish color to start the irises. Now it looks a little bit darker brown on camera than it actually is. This is a really kind of chocolatey brown. And then after that, I take a darker brown and kind of just feather it in to create more of a natural eye color, leaving the outside of the iris a lighter color and working toward a darker center so that it looks more natural. And then we just take black and go into the pupil, and then a little bit of white again to add that reflection to the eye itself so that it looks a little bit more natural again. Alright guys, so I want to thank you for making it this far into the video. It has been a blast so far just making these videos with you guys and seeing the comments and seeing how many people actually watch the videos. It's been so cool. Before we go, I just want to remind you, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future videos. The link to the Etsy shop is up. It's in the description down below as well. I have multiple different packs available for you guys to get different miniatures. You could get singles, you could get bundles, you can get the whole entire set if you want. But without further ado, let's take a look at Joel Miller.